Welcome everybody back to Velo Sound. It's our regular Sunday video or audio interview, and I must say, when I heard from the promoter of this guy that he is willing to do an interview with us, I nearly wet my pants. I'll give you a few names: Goat Snake, Wool, and now comes the most important one for me, Scream. So I'm very, very, very honored to have Peter Stahl here on the show with us. Pete, thanks for joining.
Oh, thank you for having me. Let me complete my resume for you. There's a couple.
Don't, because then the hour is over. It's just we could mention the desert sessions, Orchestra del Desierto, whatever. There are loads of things that you have done, and it's amazing. Earthlings, I nearly had forgotten that one. So
yeah, man.
I mean, how do you feel when somebody calls you like a living legend?
Well, I think that term's definitely overused. I wish people would come up with some different descriptions, but I'm not comfortable with that kind of name, really. I just happy people enjoy the bands that I'm a part of. I'm a very, very fortunate person.
Yeah, I mean, there are probably literally hundreds of thousands of people who know at least one of your bands or one of the bands that you've been in. And let's cut straight to the chase, because one of these is releasing, or at the time when this is out, has released a new record just a few weeks ago. Scream is back. I mean, like, I don't want to ask the obvious question, like, why did it take you so long? Because it's not the question of why did it take you so long, but maybe the question is more interestingly, what made you release a new record with the band?
Well, thanks for asking. I mean, it's something we've been talking about, me and my brother and Skeeter, who goes by the name Enoch now, Enoch Thompson, and Kent, our drummer, who just recently passed away. We're having these conversations for the last 10 years, but we're all live kind of in different parts of the country.
Just 1 second, Peter. I think I have to unplug my earbuds because I don't hear anything at the moment. So just give me a second.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
It says that it's so
let's rephrase that question. Why did you start, or why did you release a new record with Scream?
Well, I mean, this record was kind of, our last release was in 2011, but we still got together, periodically over the years to play music and create and do shows occasionally, but everybody lives in different parts of the country, so it's kind of difficult. We all work for a living, doing different things, and some of us have families to raise, and so it's just we're not like a active working band, but we are an active family of dudes that get together and play music. So, and then I like so we have been active playing music live a lot, but more so than recording. And then obviously, like the rest of the world, everything shut down for the pandemic, and which gave me and the rest of the guys opportunities at home in isolation with nothing to do. So we directed that energy to coming up with new music individually and then sending it to each other, never lacking for topics to write about with what we were living through and experiencing and going on around us with the pandemic and with some of the unrest that developed out during that time as well, and just all the things we were going through, and the politics of the day, because that's what I write about is what we're living right now, because this is our time. And history's full of dark times, and I'm not saying that the time that we're living through is any more troubled than other times in history, because it's not, but this is our history that we're living. So that's what I write about. Um, and, and, and also looking back on, you know, as I have different perspectives on things now than I did when I was younger. So there's always stuff to write about, but definitely all this downtime gave us an opportunity to be creative, which, you know, when you work every day, you know, everyone's got different hours or whatnot, but it's hard to like find time to read or write or be creative. So that was really the only good thing that for me that came out of the pandemic in that sense. And then toward the end of the pandemic, you know, like I said, we had talked to Don at Inner Ear about doing another record. I think we tried to schedule maybe 5-6 years ago a session, but something changed in my schedule and my brother's schedule. We couldn't do it. And then it got word from Don that the studio was going to be closing down because the city was shutting it down for like, they wanted to like make some changes in the neighborhood. They condemned that building. It was kind of strange because they wanted to turn that area into an arts district, but for some reason, I don't know why, the knuckleheads there didn't want to use the studio as part of that plan. So he'd been there for a long time. It's where we recorded Fumble back in 1989. But so he's like, well, we want to get in there before you close, because that's kind of that studio. It was where we started as a band. We did our first demo in his original studio location back in like 1980. And then we did our first album there. So we wanted to have an opportunity to get back in there before it closed. And so that really kind of lit a fire in our ass to get it together. And so then, you know, during this process of writing this record and coming up with these songs, we, you know, I guess we're thinking back a lot about, you know, our time starting at Inner Ear and just our and kind of looking back and then thinking about our band and in the context of DC music. And so we wanted to write about our town, kind of celebrate our community and create new music to represent now. And so the way we wanted to tell the story was through collaboration and inviting people from our town and musicians that we played with or people that we looked up to see if they wanted to like be a part of this project. So which we were called DC Special. And so I started reaching out to different people and musicians to see if they wanted to get in the mix with us, you know? So that's what we did. And the result of that will be released on November 10th. So
what strikes me about the new record, about DC Special, Sha-La-La, first of all, I love the title. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you. That's actually the title of the title track. Yeah. But the name of the record is DC Special. But yeah, and that song's like kind of like the groove of the record, and it's like it's a feel good song, kind of, you know, emoting some joy and looking back on and about our town, celebrating our town that way. So, but then, you know, there is a lot of the record kind of travels through a lot of different roads and things, you know. So that's the content of the record speaks to the collaboration and of this record, you know.
And then what of course is striking is you've already said that you recorded again with Don Ciantara, again in Ear. It's again on Dischord. There's a lot of folks and collaborations on the record with people who have always been associated with Dischord. And you've also already said, you know, it's like a reflection on your time. which Scream has always been like a mirror to its time.
Yeah.
Is this
And
more a, okay, we're going full circle again, or is this more a, okay, times are so weird that we have to comment again? Is it more nostalgia, or is it more, come on, folks, we have to say something?
no, I mean, I think all our records have kind of a mix of songs and styles and feelings. So no, like this is definitely some of the songs are commenting on what's going on around us at this time, and it's always been a part of the band to be conscious of our politics and our world within kind of being a band and that has that has fun playing music too. So there's songs like Last of the Soft, which is kind of an acoustic ballad that is a song about the pandemic, or about the George Floyd moments, where there was demonstrations in all the cities to the murder of him. And then there's songs like The Flam, which kind of speak about the social media and how that's just changed our whole world just in such a short amount of time, and how everybody's being manipulated by misinformation that's coming through their phones, and it's changing political dynamics everywhere in the whole world, and it's there's a lot of good things about the internet, but we're obviously seeing a lot of bad results from it too. Yeah. And so I think all these things kind of set the tone of the record. There's a song called Hell Nah that is a fucking blast to play and a hell of a lot of fun. And it's kind of like, but it's like the song is like a call and response song, which is kind of something that's kind of maybe kind of typical to like DC music, especially in go-go. But, it's kind of a song about hanging out in the corner with your buddies, or sitting on the porch with your friends, shooting the shit and talking about what's going on around you, and kind of talking shit, but talking about what's happening around us, whether it be this record was done through when we had radicals on both sides fucking shit up. We had an insurrection, people that tried to like stop the democratic process in our country. And these are things that you have to speak to, and sing about, because it's happening around you. So with a song like Hell Nah, we try to do that. We always tried to like kind of say our piece, but kind of have fun at the same time. Things are so serious. I mean, like today, it's like I had trouble sleeping, or even waking up today thinking about what's going on in Israel and Gaza and West Bank. There's there's just so much tragedy happening to those people there on both sides. There's fucking just murder and genocide, and it's hard to like. I can't. When I think about all the suffering that's going on right now over there, to the Jewish people and the Palestinians, and it's hard to like have a good day, So, and all I can do is be thankful for like, I'm going to do 2 interviews today. We're going to talk about DC Special and this fucking craziness that's going on over there, and then our government comes out, well, we stand by the people here, like, well, what, you stand by what they do to the Palestinians? I mean, I don't know. Yeah. It's like, so I don't stand by that shit.
Yeah.
But it also hit really close to home to me, watching I'm out in Joshua Tree, California area, working on a project for the studio here, and there's a festival going on in town called the Joshua Tree Music Festival. It's really cool, kind of world music festival. Bands from Africa, maybe there's bands from Israel. I don't know the full lineup, but it's a desert festival. And then you see what happened yesterday in southern Israel, where people going to a show are massacred, and but it's a reaction to the massacres and the death that's been happening in Gaza for years, and years, and it seems like that. I mean, I think people are there's a fatigue in talking about the Israel-Palestine problem and the two-state solution, but it seems like it's been put in the through, I don't know, it's just not talked about that much. And as it seems like Israel's with settling lands and all that crazy. I don't even it's just so confusing to me. But you can look at the map and you can see what's happening over there, and it's fucked up.
Yeah.
But so I think it's important for all of us to take a minute and try to understand what's happening. So through music, I'm lucky that I have a band that I can kind of like speak through, and bands that I can speak through, and I got something to say, which that new song on Still Screaming. I mean, a lot of the lyrical content on Still Screaming, it could just kind of mirror what's happening today. So,
strange, isn't it?
That's there is feel good songs on DC Special, but there's also songs that reflect our thoughts on current events. But there's other ways. The record also, the other way we kind of created it, representing DC, was by having the collaborators, all these different musicians like Joe Lally, Mark Cisneros, Ryan Baker, Ian, Amanda Mackay. There's a lot of people, and there's people from that me and my brother and Skeeter and Kent looked up to as bands. And when we were first starting out playing, like this, Martha Hall sings a song on the record, and she's been in a couple really important DC bands from the 70s. One band called The Deceits, another band called Slicky Boys. And she actually sings a song, Faces, that was a song that my dad's band, because my dad managed bands in the mid-60s, played and released on a single. And the drummer in my dad's band happens to be, coincidentally, beautifully, her husband. And his name is Bob Berberick, and he's a great drummer, kind of a legend in DC. He played in my dad's band, The Hangmen, and he was also played in Roslyn Mountain Boys. He also played in Grin with Niels Rofgren. And he's still kicking ass as a drummer, and his wife still kicking ass as a singer. And I reached out to them, told them about this plan, what we were doing, and they were down with coming in and playing on it and help us tell the story that we wanted to tell. And that's a perfect example of the essence of what that concept was me and Franz and Enoch and Kent playing with them. And so so we kind of came together quickly. It was, like I said, it was kind of at the tail end of the pandemic. We had to still kind of follow protocols. Joey P, who was our old sound guy back in the day, he was Fugazi's sound guy. Him and his son came down and helped kind of manage and kind of corral. And it kind of turned into a big party, but we had to have the party outside, and people would come in and record and collaborate, and there was some, we were just kind of making up some stuff as we went along. So that was fun. So through that thread of playing with people that inspired us, and then also other songs with people that we play with now, that's how we kind of told their story, and that process of making that project was a product of the experience. And one of the songs, Bored to Life, was a song that Daryl Jennifer from the Bad Brains wrote, and I wrote the lyrics for. And so we were that was another huge band for our town, And for us, they gave us our first shows in DC, and we went up to CBGB's and played with them. And we did our first, one of our early demos at 171A, which is where they did the Roar cassette. And they really, give us a little lift to get started as a band. So I was, to be able to sing a song that Daryl wrote was a huge honor, and it helps tell the story. And then also, besides the musicians from the 60s to now, the vinyl is pressed in our city. Furnace pressing is in Alexandria. The studio, like I said before, is where we started out. In fact, he's back now that they had to shut that studio down. He's back at his original place, which is in his basement. And me and my brother grew up on that same street. So, it's ground zero for us, that studio, from when we were little kids. And then, obviously the record label is Dischord, and which represents has always been true to representing our city by putting out music and giving bands a place where they can be creative and get their music out from DC. There, in fact, there were times when I would talk over the years, I would talk to Ian about, hey man, we got some new songs we're working on. We want to do a record. And he's like, you don't live in DC anymore, you can't. And then also the artwork, which I don't know if you've seen any of the artwork, but I kind of collaborated with this woman that Allison and Fisher, who runs a collection or oversees a collection of Globe Printing and Press, which was a company that made old posters for R&B posters and go-go posters and circus posters and stuff that you've seen that style. It's like neon kind of block printing, old kind of. And so this college called MICA, I think it's the Maryland Institute College of Art, something like that. I shouldn't be butchering it like that, but if you just Google MICA, it's in Baltimore, Maryland. It's part of the DMV, and she helped me make a poster for the Kickstarter that we did to fund the recording, because we had to come up with the funds to make the record, and then I had never really seen an album with using that style, so they were nice enough to kind of help lay out the front cover and the back cover, and our friend Jason Farrell, another musician from back home, he laid it out and put all the finishing touches and put everything together. It's a beautiful package, and it's homegrown made, so everything from the artwork, the label, the studio, the musicians, the vinyl, it's all DC.
Which is also interesting that, of course, this is a scene thing. You've already mentioned a lot of the people that have been working with you and your brother and the others on this record. But at the same time, I feel as if it speaks on a very, very global level in a way, because it's not only got some classic DC punk songs on it, but I mean, like, you have a reggae track, you have a ballad, you have a lot of different stuff on there. You have a few things which remind me a little bit of the Dead Kennedys, which is a totally different scene, of course. But
cool.
Would you say that this record is also like an amalgam of your musical influences over the last 30 years? I mean, like, Fumble came out, the last complete full length that Scream did came out 30 years ago. So is that collection of your influences?
I guess, I mean, like, I feel like we're a product of our town. And, actually, like, I feel like we're like little tadpoles. We're living in the water of the Potomac, and we kind of came out into Arlington, Virginia, and Bailey's Crossroad, and formed this band. And then everything our creative output is everything that we've digested in being a band, jumping in the van, playing shows all around the U.S. when we first went out to California in the early '80s, and then getting over into Europe, and then seeing the world through the van window, and so then we become part of that, and then that becomes our music. So yeah, and that's one thing we wanted to tell in this record is celebrating our history through the music history that we experience in a way. And so Dead Kennedys as a band is really important to us. I don't hear that so much, but I'm glad that you do, and everyone's going to hear songs differently. But Jello was when we were first starting out as a band, one of the first shows we played, we weren't readily accepted right when we first started out, because we were kind of, more jockey kind of kids from the suburbs, and the DC scene, the core of the scene was in a different part of town. So there's just, how that goes, and more and a different kind of culture, a more it's just it's kind of a culture clash, even though it's in the same same city, and so I remember we played this show, and we were kind of we felt down because we didn't feel like the other bands or other people liked us, or we kind of feel that. But and then he came up to me and gave me his number and said, "Hey man, really like what your band, think you guys are great, don't get discouraged, can you send me your demo?" And I didn't even really know who he was. So but that was cool, because that he kind of gave us like a little confidence, or gave me confidence that maybe we were doing something cool after all. And then we did shows with the Dead Kennedys later on, and which was always a thrill, because they, especially at that time, they it was like going from playing a small show to playing to 1,000 people. I even there's a video that I'm working on with Brendan Canty for DC Special, and I kind of reference something that Jello used to say when he would see. We played with them in DC area, and he would talk about the Washington Monument as the Eternal Klansman, and I kind of reference that in the video. So yes, I guess we are definitely been inspired by the Dead Kennedys.
It's really interesting that you speak so clearly about
guitar.
it. Where I mentioned that a little bit more is in the way that some.
And then also the other thing about that, it's like.
You go ahead.
I just wanted to say one more thing. Also, yeah, with the drummer from the Dead Kennedys being black, Darren and Enoch in our band, there wasn't that many bands that were mixed ethnicity, so there was a kinship there that we felt, in that sense too, because we used to get there, it wasn't uncommon for us to be on stage and people would be yelling shit at us, and yelling stuff at Enoch, so, which would ultimately kind of go into some sort of confrontation, but yeah, that is important. That's why, and on this tour that we're going on tour at the end of this month with Soulside, another great band from DC on Dischord, and so we're really out there representing our town's music, that's for sure. But in putting together the bands and getting bands to, we have bands open up these shows, we're looking for good bands, but we're also, another factor in our consideration is we're looking for bands with women in the band. We're looking for bands that are mixed ethnicities, because we want to promote diversity within our scene, and it's what we're about. And so those are the kind of shows that we want to have. We want it to be inclusive of the community, in wherever we're playing.
So is providing a safe space in general something that is important for you?
Um, well, that's, I mean, I never thought of it like that, but we want to be inclusive, and people come to our shows and feel comfortable, and also to feel comfortable so that they can express themselves
Mhm.
the way they want to too, you know.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, your bands, people that come see your band, they've taken in your music and they've taken in your words, so they want to it probably stirs emotions and feelings in them, and coming to a show gives them the opportunity to express those emotions, whether, you know, and it can be emotions of anger too.
Mhm.
You don't want violence at shows, but you want shows to be intense.
Mhm.
I mean, I think it's kind of cool, especially if you're a young, you know, we're old fuckers now, but you know, going to shows when you're young and going to like some little fucking club somewhere, it can feel kind of dangerous, and that's part of being young, and finding your way, and you know, trying out new things, and so that's kind of that kind of is part of it, you know, of youth and growing up.
Yeah, and also part of it is, of course, as you said, going to shows, maybe going to small clubs, basement shows, whatever, and then seeing some band that you might have heard of, but that you're not that familiar with. And one thing that Scream, I didn't know that until I did some research recently. Um, you were not only like playing a lot of different size shows, but you were also on very different labels. I mean, we've already mentioned it. You've released on Discord. Screen your first full length was the first full length ever to be released on Discord. And at the same time, you've also a few years later, if I read that correctly, you've released on a reggae label. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, we're always pushing the envelope on things. I mean, one thing about being a punk band is you don't want to conform to the normal path. And so we're always and we're always trying to do different things with our music, and we kind of identify with some of the reggae bands as something we always played, that kind of music, because we love that kind of music and being inspired by the by the reggae and ska that came out of the UK, and also and then of course all the Jamaican reggae that we learned about through our local scene and the Bad Brains, of course. Um, but we also wanted to be a working band, and which is something maybe a little bit different from than a lot of the other bands in DC that were maybe that had other priorities and focus, and but we wanted to get out there and play and be working musicians and kind of almost try to make a living at it.
Mm.
So Discord is not like Discord's mission is to give bands a voice and and get them a place to get their music out. But as far as like the music business kind of, you know, typical label kind of promotion and things like that, that's not really what they're about. That's not, you know.
Mm.
So Ian was always very supportive and like, you know, well, you should, if you know, you should go check out other ways to get your music out too, because we can only do so much.
Mm.
So going to that was getting an opportunity to be on Ross was an honor for us. It didn't really work out in some ways. I think the guy that put the record out, once he put it out and saw that it really wasn't doing what he expected, he actually threw the fucking record away. And thankfully, there was an angel that was working there who called us and said, "Hey, they're throwing your master tapes away. Do you want them?" And so we said, "Yeah." And then, of course, and we got our master tapes back, and then we ended up remixing it because we were never really happy with the outcome of that. It was a little, and it was a little overproduced. But we were part of that overproduction. But you know, you learn from what you do. And each record's a document of a moment in time. But then we were able to remix that, at Dave Grohl's studio out here in Cali, and Southern Lord put it out, and Southern Lord did an amazing packaging on it. If you ever get a chance to pick up that vinyl, I actually have a copy right here, and it has a little booklet in it that's like a replication of the old like I have these books here that I write lyrics in like this. And I just like will keep like song lyrics or like phone numbers of this, who I got to get in touch with for the show or whatever. And so that packaging for the re-release of No More Censorship is really cool. And and another record that still I feel like lyrically speaks to what the fuck's happening right now. I mean, just last week we had Banned Book Week here in the United States. It's kind of sponsored by library associations around the country because we're dealing with censorship here. They're banning books left and right in different states. So, the thought police are out there, man. So
I have two more questions
still
before we come to the last part of our interview. One is, you've already mentioned Dave. How difficult is it to get Mr. Workaholic and Mr. Nice Guy, which I know he is, but how difficult is it to get him to quickly jump on board and do some stuff?
I approached Dave being part of this project just like I approached the other musicians. I actually made like a book of all the lyrics, and I sent it with a letter to everybody. And I sent one to Dave too, just saying, we'd really like you to be a part of this record if you can make time. And he's so busy, don't really hear from him that often. And but I also sent this book to other people like Big Tony from Trouble Funk, huge band in DC that we love. And it was great just to have a conversation with him about music. He ultimately declined because he was something else was going on, but some people said yes. A lot of people responded positively and came down and was a part of the project. Coincidentally, it's kind of out of the blue. I think Dave had some other event in DC that he had to attend, and he made time to be there, and he ended up spending 3 or 4 days. He still has at that time. He still has a home there. The family home is still in the area. And so he came and hung out, and I think he had a blast. We got him on one track. We kind of wanted to do more, but he was only there for like a couple days. But I think that it's good for him to come back to the source at times, and I think for all of us, because then we kind of have to then we're reminded wow, this is what we were, but it's actually what we are. Yeah. And so, and that's basically what we want to say in our record,
Last question before we come to our infamous quickfire round here at the end. You have spoken about the importance of a certain punk ethos that was important to you. And I mean, we have already mentioned it. You have been in loads of other bands, Earthlings, Goatsnake, Wool. Mm-hmm. You were featured on some of the Desert Sessions. And I think I've probably forgotten a lot of them right now. But was that important to you, that you were writing, recording, performing with people that had a similar kind of liberal, open-minded set of thinking?
It's not. I mean, I've been involved with projects with people that are not. I'm not politically aligned with, and that's okay too. But I don't know if I can actually be in a band with them that's constantly traveling together and and I I think it's cool to be able to create music with different people, and I really enjoy that, and I like those challenges and of meeting in a certain place and making music together. But as far as like when I'm on tour with my band and like whether it be Earthlings or Goatsnake, I mean we're fucking brothers and sisters and that kind of family. You might have different viewpoints in there as well, but you kind of got to be kind of aligned. So but everybody's different. I can't, like some of the guys in Scream over the years have been more conservative than others, but I think in general, we kind of, as far as the band goes, you kind of are attracted to each other through those commonalities and thinking. But it's not a rule or regulation that you have to like be that way. I don't know. I hope I answered your question, but
you did. Don't worry. That was a good question. I know what you mean. I mean, like, of course. And there is a difference between conservative
I think people
and
that want.
right?
I think. What's that?
And there is, of course, always something that we here in Europe should also always remember. In America, there is a difference between conservative and right wing.
Well, yeah. Never. It's really illuminated these days because you have like what happened last week in Congress, in our with the Speaker of the House getting basically kicked out by just a very small group of extreme right-wing politicians. And I mean, our system is flawed greatly. Basically a two-party system, a lot of corporate control, money, lobbying. It's, but there's definitely a difference between conservatism and right-wing extremism, and you're seeing that really play out across the world right now.
Yeah. And with that in mind, and I don't know if you reflect on the interviews that you do so nicely, but basically during this interview, I was already thinking like, okay, there are 2 more topics for 2 new Scream songs minimum. So, I guess you know what I want to say with that. Don't make us wait another 30 years for another full length. But Pete, nobody leaves the Veil of Sound interviews without having to go through our infamous quickfire round. You will always get 2 alternatives, like New York City versus Boston, or deep dish pizza versus good pizza. Forgive me, Chicago. Suicidal tendencies versus Rage Against the Machine. By the way, still the first concert that I ever saw.
Rage Against the Machine was
opening for Suicidal Tendencies.
Wow, that's cool.
That's more than 30 years ago. But nevertheless, so you always get 2 alternatives and you have to choose. And I'll make it easy for you for asking, which kind of format do you prefer? CD or vinyl?
I prefer vinyl, but I definitely pushed for CD for this record, which Dischord did not want to make because in there they don't sell CDs anymore. But for me and for us, it was important to have a CD, be a part of DC Special. For one, there's actually 18 songs on the record, the whole project, but only 12 of them could fit on the vinyl. So the CD has the whole project in one disc. Vinyl's so fucking expensive now, I can't afford it. Luckily, with the DC Special and with Dischord, we can offer it at a more reasonable price. I think it's going to be $20. You can buy it at Dischord.com for $20. We'll have it on sale at our shows for $20. But with the CD, we'll be able to sell our record for $10. So it's great to be able to offer our that a low cost item with our record on. So it's important to me, and I still I still have a CD player. I still have a cassette player. I have a 2006 Ford Ranger. It's got a cassette player. And actually, Southern Lord just put out Goatsnake's first demo on cassette. So I was really happy to just get that recently. And then, I play CDs in there too. So I have a much larger vinyl collection than I do a CD collection. I went through that phase too when there was a time in the 2000s when you could go to Amoeba Records and trade in your CDs for money. So I did that when I needed money. So I lost a lot of my CDs through that. But I started out as a kid. And I'm going to have to own up to this now. I hope my mom doesn't listen to this interview. But I used to go in her pocketbook and steal like 75 cents. And I would go up to Giant Music and I could bought my first singles. They were 69 cents. And with my mom's money, she probably knew, but so yeah, that vinyl holds a dear place in my heart. Plus, I mean, it's just so fun to open up vinyl and look at it, and kind of when you do that, you kind of get into the world of the band,
Mm.
and that's why I was talking about this packaging that Southern Lord did for No More Censorship re-release. Okay, what's the next
you live
one?
in this whole Baltimore, DC area, and I hope that I strike at least a little chord in you. If you had to choose a game by one of the baseball teams, would it be the Orioles or the Nationals?
Neither. I'm actually now a Dodger fan.
Ooh!
Because I'm going to tell you why. I can easily explain this to people like they don't really understand. I grew up as a Washington. I'm an old guy, right? I grew up as a Washington Senator fan. And as a kid, I used to go see the Senators play at DC Stadium, RFK Stadium. It's still there. In fact, I just drove by it last week because me and Enoch went down and we played a show for the mayor. It was a mayor's 38th annual art award show, and we got invited to play, which we were kind of really surprised. So we jumped at doing that. We went down there and played one of the songs acoustically, and I drove by that I don't know what it's called, DC Stadium now, but I think they're going to tear it down. But I used to go see the Washington Senators there. I can still name the players on the teams from some of the, like 1968, 69, when I would go as a kid and I would listen to the Senators at night, going to sleep on my AM radio, put it underneath my pillow. So that stuff, like when we lost the Washington Senators, which is the Texas Rangers, I never forgave that guy that stole that team from us. So then we didn't have a baseball team for the whole time. And that's why the Washington Redskins are such a huge part of the DC area, because there was no baseball team then. And then now they're called the Washington Commanders, which is great, even though I kind of liked, they were thinking of changing the name to the Washington Football Club, which I kind of like that better. But
me too.
That's why. So when I came out here in LA in the early 90s, we ended up in North Hollywood, and kind of first place I live is Los Feliz, which is like literally like 2 miles from Dodger Stadium. So I started following the Dodgers, and the Nationals still hadn't moved down from Montreal yet. So, I mean, I follow the Nationals a little bit, but I'm definitely a Dodger fan now. And because I got the team was stolen from me as a little kid. So, and even when I never could like get behind the Orioles, even though I would follow them a little bit. But when we lost our team, we lost our team. And then I just became a massive football fan through the Commanders, and then also a basketball fan through the Bullets, which are now called the Wizards.
The Wizards. Yeah.
And then, but I'm more of a Laker fan, to be honest, too. So there you go. Now you know.
Yeah, now you've made a lot of people
angry.
But anyway, we have to cut your answers a little bit.
I think people,
short answers.
You've
played in Goatsnake with Greg Anderson. And of course, you know, one thing that strikes me or that I want to ask is, if you had to choose Burning Witch or Sun, which band would you rather listen to right now?
Sun.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I like to do is I like to go hiking, and there's a lot of great places around here. There's actually, coincidentally, I'll send you a picture. Right behind I'm living in Landers. Right behind my house is Goat Mountain. I don't know how that happened, but it's there. And I haven't successfully made it to the top yet, but I'm going to do that one day. But I like to hike and go on walks and listening to Sun, because it's just really expands your mind and you can just get lost in thought. And so I'm more familiar with Sun than Burning Witch, but you asked me to pick between the two, that would be my choice.
You've spoken about your love for ska and for reggae and for English bands. So let me ask it this way: the Specials or Madness?
Specials. So you know, I got to go do this other damn interview now.
Last one, and that's your hard choice. 2 albums by the Dead Kennedys: Fresh Fruit or Frankenchrist?
Fresh Fruit. You know, I mean, I'm always more of a first album kind of guy. Even like that's totally get it when like, why is Scream putting out a new record? I mean, they only want to listen to Still Screaming anyway. But yeah, no, that would be my choice there.
Yeah, I would also have chosen that one. So Pete, thanks for your time. Thanks for the wonderful detailed answers. I always like that when I don't have to ask too much. For everybody who has not yet listened to this new record by Scream, please do so. If you like us, leave us a comment or a subscription. And Pete, for you, chance for final last words.
Oh, think, try, believe. Have fun.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.